Why do we suffer? Why does pain cling to the heart of every human being, generation after generation? This question has haunted us since the beginning of time. Even though civilization has advanced, even though medicine has healed countless illnesses, even though technology has connected the world, in ways our ancestors could never imagine, suffering remains like a shadow that never leaves. It changes its form, sometimes appearing as loneliness, sometimes as anxiety, sometimes as the heavy emptiness that no achievement can fill. Buddhism, among the oldest traditions of wisdom, speaks very clearly about this reality. The Buddha himself, after years of searching, declared one profound truth: life is suffering. This was not meant to discourage people, nor to create despair. It was to open our eyes to what is always present. He explained in the Four Noble Truths that suffering cannot be denied. It is the first thing we must see if we wish to be free. Suffering, according to Buddhism, comes in many forms. There is the suffering of birth, of aging, of sickness, and of death. These are natural stages of existence, yet they bring unease. There is also the suffering of being with people we dislike, the suffering of being separated from those we love, and the suffering of unfulfilled desire. Each of these stings in its own way, yet they all share the same roots: the poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance. Greed is the endless craving of the heart. The more we have, the more we want. A person may think, once I have this house, all my worries will disappear. But soon another desire arises: a larger home, a better neighborhood, a car, prestige, admiration. Desire becomes a bottomless well, never satisfied. The hunger of wanting is what makes people restless, never able to rest in contentment. Hatred is the fire of anger. It is the resentment when life does not bend to our wishes. It is the bitterness when people treat us unjustly, or when we cannot forgive ourselves. Anger clouds the mind. It makes the tongue sharp and the hands reckless. It burns both the one who holds it and the ones around them. And though it seems powerful, it leaves only ashes. Ignorance is blindness. It is the refusal to see reality as it is, the confusion of not knowing what truly matters. The ignorant person runs in circles, blaming others, clinging to illusions, refusing to stop and ask, why am I suffering? They are like a stubborn driver who does not know the road, yet keeps speeding forward into danger. Even those who live in luxury with fame and wealth are not free from these poisons. Many of them end their lives, not from lack of possessions, but from the deep emptiness inside. Suffering shows itself not in poverty or richness, but in the poisons that rule the heart. The Buddha taught to end suffering, we must look directly at it, not run away, not hide, but stare into its face. He said, when we understand the root of suffering, we begin to transform. Recognizing the poisons of greed, hatred, and ignorance is the first step. Only then can we learn to let go, to live mindfully, and to find inner freedom. To illustrate, imagine a young man chasing success. He works day and night, driven by the belief that once he climbs high enough, peace will come. Yet when he reaches one peak, another appears. He buys a car, then dreams of a better one. He earns recognition, but craves more applause. His soul becomes a marketplace of desires, loud and restless. The poison of greed drives him endlessly, and though he appears successful, inside he is chained. Or think of a woman who carries anger in her chest. Perhaps she was betrayed. Perhaps she was treated unfairly. She cannot let it go. Every time she sees the one who wronged her, the fire burns again. Her words cut, her heart aches. Her anger does not punish her enemy, but herself, and the years pass. Her body weakens under the weight of bitterness. This is the fire of hatred consuming its own vessel. And ignorance, perhaps the most subtle, is like living in a fog. People chase shadows, thinking they are real. They imagine that happiness lies only in money, beauty, status, or approval. They run after these things without questioning. Yet when they grasp them, the emptiness returns. They do not see the true cause of their suffering. They keep blaming the world, unaware that the prison is within their own mind. The teaching is not to condemn, but to awaken. The Buddha said, suffering is not the end. It is the doorway. When we look at our pain with honesty, when we understand how it arises, we can begin to walk a new path. That path is not about having nothing, nor about running from life. It is about living with awareness, with balance, with compassion. Many people today rediscover these truths. Celebrities who step away from fame, businessmen who leave wealth behind to live simply. They are not weak. They are learning to breathe again, to taste the small joys that greed had stolen, to forgive and release the anger that hatred had burned, to open their eyes and walk out of ignorance. Their lives remind us that freedom is not in possessions, but in the heart that knows peace. Eastern philosophy, beyond Buddhism, also reflects deeply on suffering. Confucianism and Taoism, the two great streams of thought, explain that pain arises when humans live out of harmony with the natural order. The universe, they say, is built on balance, yin and yang, heaven, earth, and human. When one element is disturbed, imbalance brings conflict. Confucius once said, "Those who follow heaven's way will live. Those who oppose it will perish." To live rightly means to respect the rhythms of nature and the duties of society. When children dishonor parents, when people are selfish and greedy, when tradition is ignored, the flow of life is broken and suffering follows. Consider the modern family. Parents fight, children disobey, respect is lost. The home becomes a battlefield instead of a refuge, or society at large. When people value image more than integrity, when competition replaces compassion, hearts grow weary. People feel trapped in endless games of appearances. This is suffering born not from one individual, but from imbalance in relationships. Taoism takes another path, teaching the way of Wu Wei, effortless action. Lao Tzu compared life to water, soft yet unstoppable, silent yet powerful enough to pierce stone. When we flow with nature, life moves smoothly. When we resist, when we force, when we demand, we create our own suffering. Think of a man who insists on being first in every matter. He must succeed, must stand out, must control. He exhausts himself, yet never feels at rest. Another who lives gently, accepting what comes, is like water, flexible and calm. He is not weak, but wise. He knows peace is found not in fighting the current, but in flowing with it. The lesson from Eastern philosophy is that suffering is often a sign that we have drifted from balance. To return is not to abandon modern life, but to live with humility, with gratitude, with harmony, to honor our parents, to respect our neighbors, to keep our word. These small acts of alignment bring great peace. A life simple in possessions but rich in harmony is more restful than a life full of wealth but empty of joy. Modern psychology offers another lens. It says that much of adult suffering comes not from the present, but from invisible wounds left in childhood. The soul of a child is delicate. A careless word, a moment of neglect, a cold glance, can leave marks that last for decades. These are called childhood emotional wounds. They are unseen scars, yet they shape our feelings, thoughts, and actions as adults. A child once abandoned grows into an adult who fears abandonment in every relationship. A child harshly criticized becomes an adult who never feels good enough, no matter how much praise they receive. There are many kinds of wounds: the wound of abandonment, the wound of betrayal, the wound of humiliation, the wound of overcontrol, the wound of rejection. Each creates a mask. Some people withdraw, some pretend to be strong, some please others at all costs. Yet behind every mask is the same fear, the fear of being hurt again. Take the story of a successful woman, admired for her independence, strong in the eyes of all, but in therapy, she cries like a child, for her parents left her alone, forcing her to survive by herself. She learned not to trust, not to lean on anyone. Though she has money and position, her soul is lonely, always tense. This is suffering from wounds that were never healed. Psychology teaches us, suffering is often an echo of the past, not only a problem of today. Healing requires turning inward, embracing the child within, comforting, forgiving. Only then can the adult live freely. Without this, people live exhausted, acting roles they never chose, never knowing who they truly are. Suffering is not just psychological, it is also social. Sociology explains that pain often comes from the structures and expectations of society, from the roles imposed by culture, by class, by gender, by age. When someone does not fit the mold, society punishes them, sometimes with words, sometimes with silence, sometimes with rejection. In many Asian cultures, men must be strong, women must sacrifice, children must obey. The elderly must be role models. Anyone who does not conform is criticized. A single woman past 30, a man who chooses art over engineering, a person who loves differently, all may face shame and isolation. Imagine a man who leaves his career as an engineer to farm organic vegetables. He feels joy in his work, harmony with nature, yet relatives mock him, call him a failure. They see only wasted education, not peace of mind. Though he lives content, their contempt becomes a thorn in his soul. Sociology also points to inequality. A child born in poverty, without education or connections, faces walls at every step. Even if they work twice as hard, the system pushes them down. Their suffering is not their fault, but the weight of injustice. From this view, suffering is not only in the heart, but also in the environment. It is unfair to tell someone simply to let go. When the system itself is cruel, we must create fairer conditions and also help people see the invisible chains that bind them. The lesson is, sometimes we do not suffer because we are wrong, but because we are different, and difference should never be punished. Each life deserves respect. Each person deserves to live true to themselves. Mental health offers yet another perspective. It reminds us that well-being is not just the absence of illness, but the presence of happiness, meaning, and healthy relationships. Many people look fine on the outside. They smile, they work, they function. Yet inside they feel empty, anxious, depressed. Experts say, suffering often comes from disconnection, not only from others, but most of all from oneself. When we no longer hear our inner voice, when we no longer know what we truly need, we become machines, living roles assigned by society. Take the example of an office worker. She follows the same routine every day, waking, commuting, working, cooking, sleeping. 10 years pass. One day she realizes she has been existing, not living. Her heart is numb, her joy lost. This is the suffering of disconnection. Modern life makes this worse. We are afraid to admit weakness, afraid to speak of loneliness. Our silence builds walls. Emotions suppressed become anxiety, depression, sleeplessness. Our lifestyles add to the burden: poor diet, lack of rest, too much screen time, no touch of nature. These small habits slowly erode our mental ground. The lesson here is clear: to be free from suffering, we must care for the soul as we care for the body. Time in silence, journaling, meditation, walking under trees, honest conversation with trusted friends. These are not luxuries. They are survival. They restore the connection within. They bring light back into the empty room of the heart. Looking across all these perspectives, we see that suffering does not have a single cause. It arises from many roots: psychological, social, spiritual, physical. Yet in every root we find one thread: disconnection. Disconnection from self, from others, from nature, from values, from life itself. Freedom from suffering does not mean pain will vanish overnight. It is a slow journey inward, a journey of seeing clearly, of understanding, of accepting, of transforming. We must learn to recognize our own pain instead of fleeing from it, to return to simplicity, to live true to who we are, to dare to be different, to let go of unnecessary expectations. Stories abound of those who have walked this path. A person once driven by success falls into depression. They retreat to the countryside, live simply, farm, write. At first, people mock them, but later, others see their peace and follow. Their courage to slow down inspires a community to rediscover balance. The truth remains: no one can end suffering for you. You alone can walk this road. By turning inward, by facing, by loving, by reconnecting, harmony returns, and with it, peace. As a wise monk once said, suffering is a gateway, not a prison. Whoever dares to walk through will discover freedom. If you have found meaning in these words, please like this video to support the channel Culture Share. Share it with loved ones and friends who need comfort, and subscribe so you will not miss future journeys of healing and peace. Thank you deeply for walking with Culture Share.